What if the hollowness inside you isn't a flaw, but a quiet invitation to become who you're meant to be? Picture yourself on a windswept cliff at twilight, the sea below whispering secrets, the air sharp with salt and possibility. You feel an ache, a strange emptiness, as if a piece of your heart has wandered off. Yet, in that moment, a soft voice within urges you to linger, to listen. This isn't a void to fear, it's a doorway, one that could lead you to the richest treasures of your soul. Dr. Nora Vellich, a 54-year-old therapist with silver-streaked hair and a habit of collecting river stones, taught that this emptiness is a sacred signal. Nora, who often sat by her fireplace sketching dream symbols in a leather journal, believed it's your unconscious calling, a sign that your soul craves growth, truth, and connection. Far from weakness, this feeling is a whisper of potential, urging you to look within when life feels off-kilter. After a heartbreak, a missed opportunity, or even in the hum of a perfect routine. Take Ezra, a 32-year-old librarian with a love for old maps and a laugh that warmed any room. Ezra's life was a tapestry of small joys, shelving books, hosting game nights, and tending to his balcony herbs. But lately, an emptiness shadowed him, a quiet longing he couldn't name. One rainy afternoon, as he traced a map's faded lines, Ezra wrote in his notebook, "Why do ascending feel so far away?" That question became his compass. He began skipping trivia nights, spending evenings instead with a sketchpad, drawing imagined landscapes. At first, the silence was heavy, his phone grew quiet, and doubts buzzed like static. But in that stillness, Ezra started to hear himself. He rediscovered his passion for storytelling, his sketches weaving tales of distant worlds. Each line drawn felt like a step toward a truer self. Nora taught that emptiness is your unconscious speaking, not in words but in feelings, dreams, and fleeting images. For Ezra, it came as a recurring dream of an open road, its horizon glowing gold. Instead of ignoring it, he explored it through journaling, realizing the road symbolized his fear of change. We've all felt this, haven't we? That sense of being out of place, even among friends, or a quiet ache for something more. Nora would say, these aren't random. They're your soul's plea to be seen. Our world pushes us to fill this void with distractions, social media, work, fleeting flings, but Nora warned that these are flimsy patches, widening the gap between who we are and who we could be. Ezra tried this, burying his unease in more hours at the library, but it only deepened his restlessness. It was only when he leaned into the emptiness, sitting with its weight, that he uncovered his shadows, those hidden fears and desires he'd pushed aside. Nora believed these shadows aren't enemies, but guides, the forgotten pieces of your soul, yearning for integration. For Ezra, it was his fear of being too different, a belief that had kept his stories secret. By facing it, he began sharing his sketches online, his vulnerability drawing others who felt the same longing. Have you ever noticed how the people around you mirror your own heart? Imagine a still pond at dawn, its surface reflecting every leaf, every ripple. That's life, Nora taught. It reflects your inner world. Every feeling you have for others, admiration, frustration, or longing, is a clue to what stirs within. This is projection, the unconscious mind's way of revealing its truths. When emptiness weighs on you, those shadows you've ignored cast vivid reflections, and embracing them can transform that hollowness into something radiant. Consider Amara, a 41-year-old chef with a knack for jazz piano and a closet full of vintage scarves. Amara was the heart of her community, her restaurant a haven of laughter and warm bread. But beneath her bright exterior, an emptiness lingered, a sense that she was living for others. She'd always dreamed of composing music, but fear of failure kept her tethered to the kitchen. One winter evening, as snow dusted her window, Amara decided to act. She signed up for a music class, cutting back on late shifts. The reaction was sharp. Her sous chef, Leela, snapped that she was bailing on us, her tone laced with betrayal. A friend, Theo, grew distant, his calls rare. Amara felt a pang of guilt, but Nora's words steadied her. Their projections reveal their shadows, not your value. Lila's anger, Nora might say, mirrored her fear of being overlooked. She leaned on Amara's presence to feel secure. Theo's silence reflected his unease with his own stalled dreams. But projection is a two-way mirror. Amara realized she'd been projecting her fear of inadequacy onto her music, assuming it would never measure up. By stepping into the emptiness, she began to play, her notes weaving stories of joy and loss. The music class, filled with the hum of pianos and the scent of cedar, became her refuge. Each chord she struck felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. She started a YouTube channel for her compositions, its raw beauty resonating with listeners globally. One comment from a stranger who said her music helped them grieve brought tears to her eyes. The emptiness she dreaded became a gateway to connection. What shadows might you uncover if you leaned into your own void? Emptiness isn't a flaw. It's a call to release what dims your light. Nora Vellich, who loved sipping mint tea while gazing at the moon, taught that the void is your soul's nudge to let go of what no longer fits. Old habits, relationships, or beliefs that stifle you. This journey, which Nora called individuation, is the path to your truest self. Not simple, but deeply liberating. Meet Clara, a 29-year-old photographer with a love for pottery and a habit of weaving dream catchers. Clara's life was a whirlwind of family duties, caring for her siblings, running errands for her parents, always the responsible one. But as she neared 30, an emptiness settled in, like a fog that wouldn't lift. She longed to open a pottery studio, a space for creativity and healing, but fear of letting her family down kept her stuck. One spring morning, as she shaped clay under sunlight, Clara chose to act. She told her family she needed space, enrolling in a ceramics workshop. Their response stung. Her mother's quiet disappointment felt like a weight. Her brother's gruff, "You're leaving us?" cut deep. Clara faltered, but the workshop, scented with clay and glaze, changed everything. Surrounded by artists, she crafted vases that held stories of growth, each curve a step toward herself. Nora taught that letting go sparks synchronicity, moments when the universe aligns in your favor. For Clara, it began with a chance encounter at the workshop. A fellow potter, Jungian, saw her work and urged her to sell at a local market. To her surprise, her vases sold out, customers sharing how they felt alive holding them. Back home, Clara rented a small studio, its shelves blooming with her creations. Her family softened. Her brother even helped build display racks, his quiet pride a sign of growth. Clara's emptiness wasn't a lack. It was a call to align her life with her art. What might you let go to make space for your deepest dreams. Have you ever felt the world wink at you, as if every coincidence carried a purpose? That's synchronicity, Nora Vellich's term for the meaningful alignments that blossom when you live authentically. When you embrace your emptiness and align with your truth, the universe responds, weaving people and moments that feel like gifts from the cosmos. Picture Sophia, a 37-year-old journalist with a love for birdwatching and a habit of collecting feathers. Sophia had a fast-paced career, tight deadlines, and a circle of colleagues who admired her drive. Yet, an emptiness gnawed at her, a longing for slower, deeper work. She'd always dreamed of writing a nature memoir, but practicality kept her chained to newsrooms. One summer night, watching fireflies dance, Sophia decided to act. She took a sabbatical, trading headlines for hikes and notebooks. Her editor, Marcus, scoffed, calling it a midlife crisis. Colleagues grew distant, their emails sparse, but Sophia felt a spark. The forests hum a new rhythm. The void was daunting at first. Her apartment, once alive with work calls, felt too still. But in that quiet, Sophia began to write, her words painting trails and wings. On a hike, she met Lena, a 35-year-old ecologist with a warm laugh and a passion for conservation. Lena read Sophia's draft and invited her to a writer's retreat. There, Sophia shared her memoir, her voice steady with purpose. The group's feedback felt like a hug from the universe. Within months, she was leading nature writing workshops, her students drawn to her quiet wisdom. Lena became a collaborator, their talks sparking a grant for a conservation blog. A publisher offered to print Sophia's memoir, its pages a love letter to the wild. Nora taught that synchronicity is the universe's nod to your authenticity. Sophia's choice to embrace her emptiness wasn't just about writing, it was about reclaiming her essence. The people who entered her life, Lena, her students, the publisher, arrived because she'd made space by letting go of a life that didn't fit. She noticed patterns, a bird guidebook falling open to a page she needed, or a stranger at a cafe mentioning a retreat she later joined. These weren't chance. They were signs she was aligned. Sophia's emptiness had been a doorway to a life that soared like her beloved hawks. What synchronicities might unfold if you followed your heart's quiet pull? The emptiness you feel is a teacher, guiding you to your truest purpose. Nora Vellich, who often walked barefoot on dewy grass to feel the earth's pulse, believed that facing the void is the heart of individuation. The journey to your authentic self. It's about weaving your shadows, trusting your intuition, and crafting a life that sings your truth. Imagine Theo, a 46-year-old architect with a love for stargazing and a habit of carving wooden constellations. Theo was the backbone of his firm, designing sleek offices, always meeting deadlines. But as he neared his 50s, an emptiness settled in, like a cloud over his heart. He'd dreamed of building eco-friendly homes, but fear of instability kept him tethered to corporate plans. One winter evening, as Orion gleamed above, Theo chose to act. He pitched a sustainable housing project, stepping back from overtime. The response was mixed. His boss, Ezra, warned it was risky, while colleagues whispered about his idealism. Theo felt exposed, but the project, with its scent of cedar and promise of green roofs, became his anchor. Nora taught that the void is fertile ground. For Theo, it meant facing his fear of failure, a belief rooted in years of playing it safe. He started small, volunteering with a green building non-profit. One day, a volunteer, Lila, shared how eco-homes had healed her family's stress. Their talks grew into a partnership, and Lila's engineering skills refined Theo's designs. The project won a local award, its homes blooming with solar panels and gardens. His firm took notice, integrating his ideas firm-wide. Theo's emptiness wasn't a gap, it was a call to create something lasting. His colleagues adapted, and even Ezra offered grudging respect, a sign of shift. What purpose might your emptiness be pointing you toward? What if your courage to face emptiness could light the way for others? Imagine a single lantern in a shadowed valley, its glow small but steadfast, guiding weary travelers. That's the power of embracing your void, Nora Vellich would say, her voice soft as she sketched by a candlelit window, rain pattering outside. When you meet your emptiness with bravery, you don't just transform yourself, you become a beacon, inspiring others to seek their truth. Enter Luca, a 27-year-old barista with a flair for storytelling and a habit of sketching on napkins. Luca was the glue of his friend group, always ready with a quip or a warm drink. But beneath his charm, an emptiness lingered, a sense he was living a borrowed life. He dreamed of writing graphic novels, but fear of rejection kept his stories hidden in drawers. One crisp autumn morning, as the coffee shop buzzed with steam and chatter, Luca chose to change. He joined a comic workshop, skipping bar crawls to draw tales of a girl who tames dragons. His friends' reactions varied. His pal Riley teased, "You're a superhero now?" While Tara grew silent, her texts fading. Luca felt the sting, but Nora's wisdom held him. Your growth may unsettle, but it sparks light. In the workshop, Luca met Amara, a 30-year-old illustrator with a husky laugh and a love for myth. Amara saw his panels and urged him to pitch to a local press. Nervous but driven, Luca presented his work at a zine fair, his art glowing under soft lights. The crowd's cheers were electric, a reader saying his story inspired her to paint again. Luca's novel was picked up by a small publisher, its pages a hit at comic shops. Riley, once skeptical, read it and admitted he'd been stuck in a rut, inspired by Luca to take a coding boot camp. Tara, after months apart, messaged, saying she'd started therapy to face her fears. Luca's emptiness hadn't just birthed his art, it had kindled change in those around him. Nora believed authenticity is contagious. Luca saw this in ripples. A co-worker who quit to travel after hearing his story, or a fairgoer who launched a zine inspired by his work. His life felt lighter, not from having more, but from shedding what dimmed him. The napkins he once sketched on now framed his art, a reminder of his bravery. Luca noticed synchronicities, a contest deadline aligning with his final panel, or a song echoing his heroine's quest. These were the universe's applause, Nora would say, for his alignment. What ripples might your courage create? Who might you inspire by embracing your void?